くれて、ありがとう。ゆっくりしてってね。はい、こんにちは。これプレゼントでもらって、やりたかったんですよね。実況動画を見たことがあるんですけど、ゆうくんさんこんにちは。ちょっと待ってくださいね。これは消えてないの。あ、これか。よし。このね、ちょっとだけ実況動画を見た感じだと、本当に意味が不明。哲学ですよ、哲学。音量のバランスとか大丈夫ですかね。あ、びっくりした。ちょっと大きいな。なんでこれ BGM だけ大きくない？めっちゃ大きいのでは？ああ、シルハート。あれタイトル戻んないぞ。This is Stanley Parable. You know? かむきさんこんにちは。かむきりさんこんにちは。あれクレジット、あれ私、ゲームスタート遅かったかな？どうなってるんだ？yes, yes. So many endings. あれちょっとこれ、倒せないの？ちょっと、なんで殺したフロに、大丈夫、つけた。放置しとくと、なるんですかね。これ、いろいろとシュールなんですよね。あ、そっか、ゆかりミットコネクターが入ってないの。また、音が途切れた。あれオープニング飛んじゃったかな？なんかこのスタンリーさんっていうのが主人公なんですけど、いや、延々この部屋で、いいを叩く。まあ、タンポの、お刺身の上にタンポポを乗せるような仕事をしてたんですよね。
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean?
ある日、
Stanley decided to go to the meeting room.
様
Perhaps
子が
he'd
違う
simply
と。
missed a memo.
刺身タンポポ業者ですね、確かに。これ、パズルゲームで有名な、ポータル2と同じエンジンを使ってるらしいですね。あれ何もナレーションがない。なんかチラッと見た感じだと、何かしらナレーションをしてくるはずなのに、静かだな、ナレーターさんが。
When Stanley came to a set of two open doors, he entered the door on his left.
左のドアに入りましたって言われてるんですけど、まあ、これどっちに行ってもいいんだけど、どうしても最初ぐらい聞いてあげますか、いうことを。左は、お茶碗を持つ方かな。
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
どうしようも必須。そういう感じじゃないんだよな。なんかできたっけ？待ってください。何か設定あるかな？ リバースする必要はないでしょ。アンサーアクセラレーションない方がいいでしょ。特に移動がないんだから、やることないのかな。なんかさ、もう戻れないんだけど。
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
上の階に。さっきは言うことを聞いて左のドアに、だから、今度は下に行ってやろう。上は下です。
But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss. Admitting he had left his post during work hours, he might be fired for that. And in such a competitive
この競
economy,
争社会で
why
そん
had
な
he
リスク
taken
を冒
that
す
risk?
必要があるだろ
All
うか。
because he believed everyone had vanished. His boss would think he
ア
was
ーティ
crazy.
セクエン
And then something
ド
occurred to Stanley.
に
Maybe,
4
he thought to himself,
hours?
maybe I am crazy. All of my co-workers blinking mysteriously out of existence in a
一瞬で
single
同僚が
moment
みんな
for
消える理由
no
なんて
reason
そ
at
れしか
all.
ないじゃないか。いや、そん
None
な
of
こ
it
とはない
made
だろ
any
う。
logical sense. And as Stanley pondered this, he began to make other
ですよ
strange
ね。アワード4
observations.
hours.
For example, why couldn't he see his feet when he looked down? Why did doors close automatically behind him
いや、閉ま
wherever
っ
he
たんだよ。
went?
勝手に閉まったん
And for
だよ。
that matter, these rooms were starting to look pretty familiar. Were they simply repeating? No, Stanley said to himself, this is all too strange. This can't be real. And at last, he came to the conclusion
妙
that
に
had
字
been
幕
on
が
the
気合
tip of
入っ
his
てるんだよ
tongue.
な。
He just hadn't found the words for it. I'm dreaming! He yelled. This is
いや、
all
こ
a
の
dream.
ナレーターさんのテンションも
How
足りない
relieved
だと思い
Stanley
ます
felt
よ。
to have finally found an answer, an explanation. His co-workers weren't actually gone. He wasn't going to lose his job. He wasn't crazy after all. And he thought to himself, I suppose I'll wake up soon. I'll have to go back to my
ボ
boring
タンを押すだ
real-life
けの
job
退屈
pushing
な作業
buttons.
なんでも、
I
スタ
may
ン
as
リー
well
さんはボ
enjoy
タンを押
this
す
while
の
I'm
が
still
大好きな
lucid.
んで。
So, he imagined himself flying and began to gently float above
いやいやいや、本当に浮くのこれ。
Then
こ
he
れ、
imagined
全然知
himself
らないと
soaring through
私。
space
あれ
on a
戻ってき
magical
た。
star field, and it too appeared. It was so much
ちょこ
fun,
っとだけ
and
ゲーム
Stanley
実況で見たこ
marveled
とがある
that
ん
he
です
had
よ。
still
イか
not
れたゲー
fallen.
ムだなと思っ
How
て。
was he remaining so lucid? And then perhaps the strangest question of them all entered Stanley's head. One he was amazed he hadn't asked himself sooner.
うわ、
Why
この
is
疑
there
問
a
は。
voice in my head dictating everything that
だ
I'm
から
doing
ナ
and
レーターさ
thinking?
んの声がね、
Now the voice was
頭に
describing
響いてくる
itself
か
being
ら。
considered by Stanley, who found it particularly strange. I'm dreaming about a voice describing
I'm
me,
dreaming.
thinking about how it's describing my thoughts, he thought. And while he thought it all very odd and wondered if this voice spoke to all
ブレーキ
people
ラン
in
プ
their
なのか
dreams,
な。
the
ブ
truth
レーキ
was
ラン
that
プ
of
か。
course this was not
ポ
a
ジション
dream.
ランプ
How
真っ
could
赤
it
になっ
be?
てるんじゃないの。違
Was
うのか
Stanley
な。
simply deceiving himself?
それとも反
Believing
射
that
し
if
てるの
he's
かもしれな
asleep,
い。
he doesn't have to take responsibility for himself? Stanley is as awake right now as he's ever been in his life.
ひょっとしてずっ
Now
と喋
hearing
り
the
続
voice
けるの
speak
か、
these
ここにい
words
る
was
と。
quite a shock to Stanley. After all, he knew for certain, beyond a doubt, that this was in fact a dream. Did the voice not seem float and make the magical stars just a moment ago? How else would the voice explain all that? This voice was a part of himself too. Surely, if he could just...
テンション高いな。ちょっと待ってくださいね。英語のテロップ入れます。あ、ああいうえを、にし、これね、字幕出るかな。
I want my
Okay.
apartment and my wife and my job. All I want is
ソ
my
リ
life
ボイスリコグニッシ
exactly
ョ
the
ン
way it's
マシン
always
トランスレー
been.
ション。
My life is normal. I am normal. Everything will be fine. I
で
am
も聞き取りやすい方
okay.
ですよ。あれだけマシンガンされると、 取れないんですけど。
Stanley began screaming. Please, someone wake me up. My name is
ちょっと待っ
Stanley.
て、
I have a boss. I
展
have
開
an
で
office.
ついて
I
いけ
am
ない。
real. Please, just someone tell me I am real. I must be
そう、
real. I
リア
must
充
be.
ですよ。
Can anyone hear my
あれっ
voice?
て非常に大きいか、ゲームを。タイム。ゲーム大きくないです？マスターちょっと下げましょうか。いや、ナレーターさんがうるさかったり、うるさくなかったりが極端なのかな。これどうやって下げるの？これぐらいかな？これが効果音だから、ちょっとちっちゃいかな、これは。でも、ナレーターさんがうるさいって、BGM がうるさいのかな？これぐらいでやってみようかな。もうびっくりした。やっぱりうるさいじゃないか。いや、ちょっと待って。本当に真っ暗で一瞬焦ったんだけど。いや、スタンリー君の話は、ちょっと待って。なんか、分岐が山のごとくあるんで、私がゲーム実況で見たのなんて多分ほんの少しなんですよね。どこで何が起こるか分かりゃしないっていう。でもさ、スタンリー君の話はどうなったの？話がぶっ飛びすぎでしょ
？I am in control of my mind. I know what is
ちょ
real
っと
and
も
what isn't. It was
う、作
comforting
成
to
者
think
は
this, and
ト
it
ラック
certainly
決めて
was
ないか
this
こ
that
れ。
made her feel better. But then she remembered the meeting she had scheduled for that day. The very important people whose impressions of her would affect her career, and by extension, the rest of her life. She had no time for this. So it was only a moment that she stood there, staring down at the body.
なんで
And then
ちょ
she
っと、
turned and ran.
スタンリー君の話、全然関係ないとこに飛んじゃったよ。これまたループしたかな？特に何にもないんですよね。ジャンプとかないんだっけ？ないよな。走るとかもないし。まあ、ここの出場所は一緒ですけど。いつもボタンを、刺身の上にタンポポを乗せる仕事をしてたスタンリー君が仕事を行ったら、事務所の人が誰もいないよっていう。開かないし。全部カチャっていう音が入ってるだけなんだろうな。またこれだよ。最初から言うこと聞かないよ。正しい聞き方ではありませんでした。ちょっと休憩を満喫したかったのでしょう。IC とか、ネタが結構ある、ナレーターがブチ切れるアクションゲームですけど、こっちの方がですね、濃いんですよね。
It had really been worth the detour after all.
私の評判がない。
Moments here in this immaculate, beautifully constructed room. Stanley simply stood here, drinking it all in.
本当に回り道の会がありましたって、微妙に皮肉られてないか？
But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
左側の一つ目？左側って言ってるけど、左側の、そっか。どうしようかな。何かあるかな。いや、なんかことごとく言うこと聞かない方向でいこうかな。今回は。言われた通りにするのがとても苦手でした。だよね。 ことがあるなぁ。なんかですよ、これ。
Look, Stanley, I think perhaps
私
we've
普通
gotten
に
off
落
on
ち
the
たら
wrong
死んだは
foot
ず。
here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm
出
not.
だしは謝
I
ってますよ。
realize
私
that
が逆
placing
の
your
ドアに行きま
trust
し
in
たから。
someone else can be difficult, but
新
the
潟に
fact
信用
is
す
that
る
the
のは難し
story
いこ
has
とは
been
分かり
about
ました。
nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've forgotten about.
ああ、ちゃんと死ぬけど戻ってきますけど
Stop trying to
ね。
make every decision by yourself. Now, I'm not asking for me.
これ
I'm
はかな
asking
り
for
スル
you.
メですよ。なんか、セールじゃないと1600円ぐらいするんで、なんか、忙
This
し
is
く
it,
てぐったり
Stanley.
してたら、
Your chance to redeem
ちょっとこれ
yourself.
でもやっ
To
て、
put your
ゆっ
work
くりしてくだ
aside.
さいって
To
プレ
let
ゼント
her
された
back
んで、
into your life.
名誉を回
She's
復する
been
とか言われた
waiting.
ら、またしまったし、もう、あれ、開いてますちょっと待って。うさいな。今勝手にこれ閉まってさ、また閉まる？これ閉まらない。なんか、これ逆走するとどうなるんだろう。あ、違う、戻れないか。落ちちゃうな。ポータル2のエンジン使ってるんで、グラフィック自体は綺麗なんですよ。ちょっと酔いやすいかもしれないですけど、酔いそうな人は気をつけてくださいね。真ん中に点とか置いといた方がいいのかな。真ん中。点ない。お、これ置いとけばいい。真ん中、お？だったら酔わない？真ん中を見てみいいのかな。ほんとに真ん中かなあれ。これは何もないでしょうね。こうじっとポケーっとしてたらナレーターが突っ込んでくるとかないかな。ここはないのかな。ここはっていうと真っ暗なんだけど、何見える？あ、びっくりしたわ。
That's her, Stanley. You need to be the one to do this. To reach out to her.
いや、
If
突
you
然
can
控
truly
除ですけど
place
って
your
言われて
faith
も
in
さ、
another, then pick up the phone.
まあ、取るか。いや、ちょっと待って、白いのが長すぎるって。
Oh, Stanley, is that you? Hold on, sweetie. Sorry to keep you
これ
waiting.
ラジオ
I'm
か？
just pulling the bread out of the oven. All right. Okay, there we go. All right, now, I want you to come in and tell me all
なんか
about
こっ
your
ちはこっちで
day.
ハイテンションだな。あ、びっくりした。
Gotcha.
ム
Oh,
カ
come
ムカ
on.
つくんだけど。
Did you actually
ム
think
カ
you
つ
had
く
a
んだけど。
loving wife who'd want to commit their life to you?
ちょっと、
I'm
ひ
trying to
ど
make
く
a
ないか
point
こ
here,
れ。
Stanley. I'm trying to get you to see something. Come inside. Let me show you what's really going on here.
これ、
This is a very sad story about the death of a man named
Oh.
Stanley.
なんだこれ死にルートなの？ SJ オンヨーキーボード。どういうメンプ。雇用者の方々は、おはようございます。
火の取り身がある。
火の鳥、この無機質なマネキン。おはようございます。J キーをしたらどうなの？
Stanley is quite a boring fellow. He has a job
と
that
にかく
demands
つまらない
his
男で
and
す。
every button that he pushes is a reminder of the inconsequential nature of his existence.
空に足らない彼自身の生活を思い。なんであ、ちょ、待って、私がキーボードをさせられてるじゃん。
Buttons, doing exactly what he's told to do. Now he's pushing a button. Now he's eating lunch. Now he's going home. Now he's coming back to work. One might
い
even
いよ、
feel
お
sorry
昼
for
間だ、お
him,
昼間。
except that he's chosen this life.
キーをさせられるんですけど、ちょっと、図らずも私が、タンポポをお刺身の上に乗せる仕事させられてるんですけど、あ、じゃあもうセットだし。
But in his mind, in his mind he can go on fantastic adventures. From behind his desk, Stanley dreamed of wild expeditions into the unknown, fantastic discoveries of new lands. It was wonderful. And each day that he returned to work was a reminder that none of it would ever happen to him.
ちょっと、いつまで遅いの
Soon
か
he
な？
began to fantasize about his own job.
今そこ時計なかったでしょ。いきなりわからなか
He
った
stepped
か
up from his desk to realize that all of his co-workers, his boss, everyone in the building had suddenly vanished off the face of the earth. The
いや、
thought
まあ、オフィ
excited
ス
him
の方々も
terribly.
消えてたしね。ちょっとさ、で
So
もまあ、
he went further. He imagined that he came to two open doors and that he could go through either. At last,
いや、絶対
twice.
そんな大
It
層な
barely
選択じゃ
even
ないでしょ、
mattered
どう
what
せ。
lay behind
また
each
二つ
door.
のドアとか
The
言ってる
mere
し
thought
さ。
that his decisions would mean something was almost too wonderful to behold.
いやいや、魅力的じゃないでしょ。ちょっと。
As he wandered through this
私
fantasy
が
world,
キー
he
をさ
began
せ
to
ら
fill
れ
it with
てる
many
んだけ
possible
ど。
paths and destinations. Down one path lay an enormous round room with monitors and mind controls. And down another was a yellow line that weaved in
マ
many
インドコントロ
directions.
ールの
And
とこだ
down another was a
ね。
game with a
やたら巻き
baby.
舌だっ
And
た
he
な。
called it the Stanley Parable.
ちょっとさ、アホってく
It
る
was
んだ
such
け
a
ど。
wonderful fantasy, and so in his head he relived it again, and then again, and again,
アホってく
over
るん
and
だけど。
over, wishing
無
beyond
視してい
hope
け
that
ばいい
it
の
could
かな。
never
い
end,
けない。
that he might always feel this free.
ちょっと動
Surely
けない。
there's an answer
え
down some new path, mustn't there be? Perhaps if he played just one more time.
しかも、殴るとかその、ちょっとさ、
But there is no
なん、
answer.
あ、
How could there possibly be? In reality,
Or-
all he's doing is pushing the same buttons he always has. Nothing has changed.
私はボ
The
タン
longer
を
he
押し続
spends
けさ
here,
せ
the
られ
more
たよ。
invested he gets. The more he forgets which life is the real one.
ちょっとさ、ここから出して。ちょっと待って。
And I'm trying to tell him this. That in this world he can never be anything but
私
an
に
observer.
タンポポ
That
乗
as
さ
long as
せ
he
る
remains
乗
here,
せさ
he's
せる
slowly
な。
killing himself. But he won't listen to me. He
ゆ
won't
っくり
stop.
と自殺してるようなもの
Watch
なの。
this. Stanley,
こんな
the
ことばっ
next
かりした
time
ら
the screen
頭おかし
asks
なる
you
で。
to push a button, do not do it.
うん。テリアとワクインザも。いや、仕事はいいの。朝と
You
か
see?
言ってるけど。
Can he just
あ
not hear me? How can I tell him in a way that he'll understand that every second he remains here
今
is
の押し
election
終わ
to
って
kill
から急に
himself?
夜になったじ
How
ゃ
can
ん。
I get him to see what I see? How can I make him look at himself?
ちょっとさ、
I suppose I
私
can't.
何回
Not
キー
in
を
the
し
way
た
I
か
wanted
な
to.
ここの
I
フロア
don't
に来
make
て
the
から。
calls. I simply play to my intended purpose, the same as Stanley. We're not so different, I suppose. I'll try once more to convey
や
all
らな
this
け
to
れば
him.
なりません。
I
やらな
cannot
ければ
help
っ
to.
て。
I must.
2回繰り返してま
Perhaps.
すね。
Well, maybe this time he'll see. Maybe this time.
また
And
ケ
I
ロリン
tried
とか言うんじ
again.
ゃないの。
And
ちょ
Stanley
っ
pushed the
と
button.
待って。プリーズダイとか出てきたんだけ
And
ど。
Stanley pushed the button.
死ねって出てきたんだけど。死んでくださいって出たんだけど。散々キーを押した後に、最後に出てきたのはプリーズダイですよ。ひどくないか。もうパソコン壊したくてしょうがない、もう。これ、だから、この章古いはずなんですけど、ポータルのエンジンが優秀なんで、グラフィック自体はそこそこ綺麗なんですよ。ただやってることは意味が不明。
Stanley had never seen the office this brightly lit. Was it a sign of
何
something?
はい。
He hoped it was. He hoped very much that it was.
毎回結構だから、毎回っていうより、ほぼ毎回、このナレーターさんが言うこと変わるんですよね。しょうがない。しょうがない。全部言うこと聞いてみるか。キーボード地獄嫌だもん。苦労してキ
Stanley
ーボード
came
をし
to
た
a
ら
set、of two open
左だろ
doors.
左だろ。
He entered the door on his left. Yet there was not a single person here
う
either.
ん、ここさっき
Feeling
誰
a
もいなかっ
wave
たか
of
らね。
disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's
上
office,
司のオフィス
hoping
が
he
ど
might
こかも
find
把
an
握
answer
して
there.
ない。
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
いうことを聞くと、私また閉じ込められない。これは ってでいいのかな。いやでも、こんなとこに上司いるの？
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any
いや、もっ
human.
と早く気づくと思う。
Shocked,
もっと早く気づ
unraveled,
くと思う。
Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this. What dark secret was being held from him? What he could not have known was that the keypad behind the boss's desk guarded the terrible truth that his boss had been keeping from him. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number, 2845. But of course, Stanley couldn't possibly have known this.
ちょっと、出てた気しますね。真ん中になってない気がするし。
Stanley just sat around twiddling his
458 で
thumbs.
したっけ？
Trying to input anything on the device was useless,
あ、違う。
since he could never possibly know that the combination was 2845. Yet incredibly, by simply pushing random buttons on the keypad, Stanley happened to import the correct code by sheer luck.
あなたが言ったんで
He
しょ。
stepped into the newly opened passageway.
ギリって開いたのどこ？あそこにキーパッドがあって、
スタンリー君すごいな。
なんで行くの？ていうか、ナレーター、これ何をする機械なの？ここはなんかまた閉じ込められそうで嫌だ。この段差落ちたら死ぬとかないの？エレベーターのグラフィックとかは、あれまるさん、こんにちは。
Descending deeper into the building, Stanley realized he felt a bit peculiar. It was a stirring of emotion in his chest, as though he felt
あ
more
と
free to think for
書
himself.
き込みはよくできてるんですけどね。さすが、ポータルと同じエンジン使ってるだけあっ
But
て。
for years, it had never occurred to him. This question would not go unanswered for long.
明らかになんないでしょ。何？段ボールを踏んだ音？
Stanley walked straight ahead
これ
through
ホ
the
ラー
large
ゲー
door
ム
with
で
a
も
red
なんでもないんで。
mind control facility. The lights rose on an enormous
これは
room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength
暴
to
く
find
前にも
out?
この時点で暴いてないか？あ、そうか、まだか。私、ここ、実況で見たことがあるんですよね。どうやってここにいるかとかは知らないです。実況してる人も知ってたのか
Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's
なんだ
co-workers.
これ、映画
The
の
lives of so
ガ
many
ラスの塔かっ
individuals
て感じです
reduced
け
to
ど、
images on a screen, and
文字が
Stanley,
見えに
one
くい
of
か
them,
な。
eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant
ディストピア
nothing.
かよ。どんだけ監視してるんだよ。に監視されてるとか、すごく
This
シリアス
mind
なストーリーか
control
というと、
facility, it was too
別
horrible
にそんなことはないです。
be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was
あれ
happy
今なんか
with
落
his
ちていかなかっ
current
た。
job? That his emotions had been
大丈夫？
manipulated to accept it blindly?
かまたり、サンの実家がゲーム化したと聞いて、こん
ペンマルさん、こんにちは。私の実家こんなモニターあるの？嬉しいな。
No. He refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His
これ潰れたりしない？
in
潰れたりしない？
someone else's control? Never. It was
そうですね。
unthinkable.
ポータルと同
Wasn't
じエン
it?
ジンです。い
Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life
や、これ私どこまで行くの？
blind to the world?
人生全く何のためにって言われたよ。いや、これ足場はあるのか。
But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls
何これ？
enabled with emotions.
ゲーミング、
Or sad.
ゲ
Or
ーミングなんだ
content.
ろ
Walking,
後の言葉が出てこなかった。
eating, working, all of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the
い
cold
や、
reality
監視
of
モ
his
ニターはいっぱいあっ
past
たけ
began
ど、
to
も
sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again
う、
exert
無
its
視すること
terrible
に決めた
power
って。
over another human
いや、
life.
ほんとそんな大差
For
の
he
作るか、これ。
would dismantle the controls once
マイン
and
ドコントロール
for
って書いて
all.
るけど。でも、こうするのでしょ。いや、ピンポン、ピン。ちょっと待って。
ふうマルチャネルさん、さっきのモニターの場面で
そうそうそう、あそこね、私も、他の実況で見たことがあるのよ。これを壊せとか言ってさ、壊せないよ。ちょっとさ、なんでそんな間抜けな音を出すのかな、ピッポって。壊せないでしょ。戻れないのかな。あ、なんか、これは壊せそうじゃない？なんか、超自爆ボタンみたいな。何も起きないんだが、ムカつく。こいつらはピッとかポッとか言うのにさ、こいつは何も言わないの。これ見よがしに置いてあるのに。なんかこれボタンよく見ると数字が書いてる。けど多分意味ないんだろうな。考えるだけもないし。この間抜けな音。ねえ。誰かさ、何か指示を。ボタンを押し続けるのも退屈なんですけど、この変な音がするボタンを押すのも退屈なんですけど。これはこのさ、音がムカつく。なんか、毎回微妙に違うし。これは何も起きないし。今回でも一番長い分岐に入ってるんじゃないのかな。だからさ、私どうすればいいんだよ、もういい。こんなとこにいられない。私は帰るぞ。帰れないよ。帰れないよ。行き止まりじゃん。妙に足の反射音、地面の反射音とかだけはちゃんと作ってある。いや、待って、これ。どうしろってこと？なんかあるぞ。うわぁ、初めて見る。なんだこれ。さ、これ見よがしに置いてるのになんで、なんか拾える？拾えてるのかこれ。減ってる感もないし。ここ戻ってきちゃったぞ。どうすればいいんだ？そうですね、私が、なんか、他の実況とかで見て知ってるのは、なんかいろいろループしてる間に、モップがあるんで、モップをすべて倒すっていうエンディングがあるみたいな。モップをすべて倒すと、
And when at last he
入れ
found
ない
the source of the
エンディン
room's
グがあるみたい
power,
な。
he knew it was his duty, his obligation, to put an end to this horrible place and to everything it stood for.
いや、またずっと真っ暗にさせられるパターンでは。何ね。
Blackness and a rising chill of uncertainty.
私はいろんな意味で不安だよ。私はいろんな意味で不安だよ。
Yes, he had won. He had defeated the machine, unshackled himself from someone else's command.
命令してきたのはお前だけどな。
Away.
ふう
And
マ
yet,
ルチャネルさん、
Even as the immense door
そう、危
slowly
なくでし
opened,
ょ。
Stanley reflected on how many puzzles still lay unsolved.
ハンメにパズルとか言ってたけど、
Gone.
そんなパズルらしいパズルなかっただろ
From the machine's grasp. What other mysteries did this strange building
う。
hold?
これあれか
As
な
sunlight streamed into the chamber, he realized
あ
none
の
of
コ
this
ースだったら
mattered
受け
to
る
him.
んだけどな。
Though
私
it
見
was
てみた
not
かった。
knowledge or
実
even
際の
power
プレイ
that
で。
he had been seeking, but happiness. Perhaps his goal had not been to
すごい
understand,
のかな
but to let go.
これ何
No longer would anyone tell him where to go, what to do, or how to feel. Whatever life he lives, it will be his.
なんか場所が
And
よ
that
くわ
was
からない。
all he needed to know. It was perhaps the only thing worth knowing. Stanley stepped through the open door.
開いた扉から足を踏み出したとこ言ってた。
Stanley felt the cool breeze upon his skin, the feeling of
だ
liberation,
から、ボート
the
ツリ
immense
ージ
possibility of
背
the
景
new
とか綺麗で
path
すよね、これ。
before him. This was exactly the way, right now, that things were meant to happen.
なんか
That
モニターだらけ
Stanley
で、
was happy.
やたら数字のキーをさせられる時よりは平和。あ、なんか実績解除した。ビートザゲーム、ゲームを打ち負かした。あのね、散らかしすぎ。散らかしすぎ。
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it
あ、
mean?
これでも、
Stanley
自
decided
分の
to
部屋
go to
と
the
かじゃ
meeting
なく
room.
て、
Perhaps he had simply missed a
あ
memo.
れかもですね、こんな、なんか誰もいない会社の廃墟みたいなとこだったら、なんか、子供だったらぶちまけて遊べそうですよね。わーいとか言いながら。汚いよ、さ。そこら中にまき散らしてるなぁ。
When Stanley came to a set of two open doors, he entered the door on his left.
さっき逆らいましたっけ？どうしましたっけ？左行こうかな。こっからは紙がないんだ。
風分マルチャネルさん、こんなに書類がぶちまかれてたら、
そう、重なってると、すごい伸びそうですよね。
Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his
セリ
boss's
フは一緒。
office,
なんか
hoping
な
he
い、な
might
いか
find
な。
an answer there.
これ出せないのかな。あ、そうだ、入ってないでしょ。なぜか閉まるの。開く。あ、これは開くやつね。開かないのか。
Stanley stepped into the broom closet, but there was nothing
これ
here,
は出せるん
so
じゃ
he
ないの
turned
か。出せない
around
のかな。
and got back on track.
何かないのかな。
There was nothing here, no choice to make, no path to follow, just an empty broom closet. No reason to still be
早く出
here.
ろ、早く出ろって言ってるのが。でもこの、傭兵といえばダクトテープ。ダクトテープで何でも
Puzzling
作
that
る。
Stanley was still just sitting in the broom closet. He wasn't even doing anything. At least if there was something to interact with, he'd be just
だから私はダクトテープに気を引かれてるんだよ。
standing there doing sweet FA.
いや、全然何にもしてなくはない。煽ってくるなぁ。
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs
お
to
前の
his
言うこと
boss's
なんて聞いて
office.
らんない。こうハマったりしないまた。大丈夫かな。
But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility
ま
of
たさっき
facing
の
his
車か。
boss,
出れば
admitting
いい
he
じゃん。
had left his post during work hours. He might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he
私は世
taken
間の
that
常識
risk?
にとらわれ
All
ないんだ
because
よ。
he believed
本当
everyone
に世間の
had
常
it.
識が、
His
この
boss
ナ
would
レー
think
タ
he
ー
was
の常識だろ。
crazy. And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. All of my co-workers blinking mysteriously out of existence in a
なん
single
で同僚が
moment
みんな
for
消える
no
理由なんて
reason
そ
at
れしか
all.
ないじゃないか。
None of it made any logical sense. And as Stanley pondered this, he began to make
Yeah,
other
that's okay.
strange observations. For example, why couldn't he
ヤ
see
ギ
his
さん、
feet
こん
when
に
he
ちは。
went down? Why did doors close automatically behind
集
him
会
wherever
の
he
序
went?
盤が寄り
And
に
for
した
that
会社
matter,
そっくりでし
these
たね。
rooms were starting to look pretty familiar.
床
Were they
一
simply
面に
repeating? No, Stanley said
紙
to
が
himself,
落ちて
this
た
is
んで。
all too strange. This can't be real. And at last, he came to the conclusion that had been on the tip of his tongue. He just hadn't found the words for it. I'm dreaming! He yelled.
I'm
This is all a dream. Oh, what a relief Stanley felt to have finally found an answer, an
首
explanation.
にはなってない
His
よ、君。
co-workers
あれ
weren't actually
どう
gone.
した
He wasn't going to lose his job. He wasn't
一
crazy
周
after
回ってきた
all.
のか。
And he thought to himself, I suppose I'll wake up soon. I'll have to go back to my boring real-life job pushing buttons. I may as well
コーヒ
enjoy
ーの
this
意味が
while
ない
I'm
だ
still
ろ
lucid. So, he imagined himself flying and began to
う。ま
gently
た、
float
またさ
above
っき
the
のか。
ground.
本当に浮いて
Then
るし。
he imagined himself soaring through space on
で
a
もちょっとしか
magical
浮いてない。
starfield.
車に
And
何
it
かないのかな。
appeared. It was so much fun, and Stanley marveled that he had
え、
still
え、え
not woken up. How was he remaining so lucid? And then perhaps
No,
the
no.
strangest question of them all entered Stanley's head. One he was amazed he hadn't asked himself sooner. Why is there a voice in my head dictating everything that I'm doing
あ、
and
さっ
thinking?
き、これはさっき言ってた
Now
セ
the
リフ。
voice was describing itself being considered by Stanley, who
下
found
って
it
いくと、
particularly strange. I'm dreaming about a voice describing
一部
me,
一緒なのかな。
thinking
でもこ
about
の
how
辺
it's
ね、
describing
周
my
回
thoughts.
数とかで、
And while he
い
thought
ろい
it
ろ変わ
all
ってく
very
るん
odd
で。
and wondered if this voice spoke to all people in their dreams, the truth was that, of course, this was not
ちょ
a
っと
dream.
さ、どこに行けばいいのかな、
Was
私。
Stanley simply deceiving himself? Believing that if he's asleep, he doesn't have to take responsibility for
ちょっ
himself?
と、ナレーターさ、
Stanley is as awake right now
道
as
教
he's
え
ever
て。
been in his life. Now, hearing the voice speak these words was quite a
あ
shock
の目、
to
目が
Stanley.
覚めてるってば。
After all, he knew for
ちょっ
certain
と
beyond a
さ、
doubt that this was
何
in
か、
fact a dream.
何か
The
もう
voice
ハ
had
マ
seen
ってない
fit to
か
make the magical stars just a moment ago. How else would the voice explain all that? This voice was a part of himself too. Surely, if he could just... He would prove it. He would prove that
こんだけ
he
テンション
was
上げ
in
といて、
control.
いきなり普通に戻るのやめてくれる
So he closed his eyes gently, and he invited himself to wake up. He felt the cool
こ
weight
れま
of
た
the
死ぬ
blanket
パタ
on
ー
his
ンかな
skin, the press of the mattress on his back, the fresh air of a world outside this
なんか
one.
本当に、ランダム
Let
で、
me wake up.
周回ごとにランダムでいろんなことが起きるんで、
I wish it to be
なんか
over.
ちゃんとした分岐と
Let
か、
me go back to my
マー
job.
クできてるのかな
Let me continue
攻
pushing the
略サイトと
buttons.
か見たら、
Please.
ちょっとこれ攻略するっ
I
て、
want my apartment
ガチでやってたら病気になるで
and
し
my
ょ。
job. All I want is my life exactly the way it's always been.
このノリで、
My
毎
life
回
is
分岐のたび
normal.
にわけのわかんないことが
I
起きて
am
って、
normal.
する
Everything
といきな
will
り
be
死んだ
fine.
りとか、
I am okay.
I am okay. 私はまともだ。こ
Stanley
こど
began
こ
screaming. Please, someone wake me up. My name is Stanley. I have a boss. I have an office. I
で
am
もここず
real.
っとループ
Please,
して
just
るんだよ
someone
な。
tell
明
me
るくな
I'm
ったけ
real.
ど。
I must be real. I must be. Can anyone hear
こ
my
れナレーター
voice?
さんノリノリだ
And everything
え、
went
やめろ、
great.
赤くて見にくい。あ、死んだパターンかな、これ。序盤の方でなったけ
This is
ど。
the story of a woman named Mariella.
あ、これかやっぱり。
Mariella woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed, gathered her
でも
belongings,
最初
and
右
walked
のドア、
toward
左
her
のドア
husband.
とかって言われ
But on this
て、
particular day, her walk was
どっちに行
interrupted
こうがろく
by
な
a
こと
man
起きないん
who
です
had
よね、この
stumbled
ゲー
through
ム。
town talking and
あ、こ
screaming
れ
to
さっき
himself,
見た
and
ぞ、
then
このエン
collapsed
ディン
dead
グ。
on the sidewalk. And
同
although
じ
she would
ルー
soon
ト2
turn
回
to
と
go
か行
call
け
for
る
an
んだ。
ambulance, for just a few brief moments, she considered the strange man.
階段下
He was
2回、
obviously crazy. This much she knew.
下向きに下向きにっ
Everyone
て
knows
2回
what
逆らっ
crazy
た
people
ら、
look
あ、こ
like.
のルートに
And
な
in
るの
that
かな。
moment, she thought to herself how lucky she was to be normal. I
メ
am
ッセー
sane.
ジ送りができるん
I
だけど
am
でき
in
ない。
control of my mind. I know what is real and what isn't. It was comforting to think this, and in a certain way, seeing this man made her feel better.
やば
Then
い
she
や。
remembered the meeting she
あの
had
ね、
scheduled
長
for
いよ。
that day.
ここでミーティングがどうこうとかって思い出さないでしょ。余裕がありすぎでしょ。
She had no time for this, so it was only a moment that she stood there, staring down at the body. And then she turned and ran.
Down the body. 階段下に行き続けるのは同じループになっちゃいそうだから。やめるか。今度は髪がないな。綺麗になってる。お掃除屋さんでも来たのかな。お電話が鳴ってるぞ。電話どこだ？これ
Good morning. Thank you for contacting the Future Happiness Foundation. We are confirming your shipment of 1,327 cardboard boxes to your place of work. Can you verify
従
that this is
業員ない
correct?
んですけど。なんで行くん以外。従業員がいない。
Understood. Your order will be canceled immediately. Thank
こ
you
れ、
again for
こ
contacting
れ
the
すべ
Future
て
Happiness
繰り返す
Foundation.
の。一回触ったら、終わりじゃないですかね。この髪が巻き散ってたのかな、今。今ってか前回。ところどころつって。閉まるなよ。椅子に近く。インプット、レシーブと。いや、何を受信したってから出すの。出た。
When Stanley came to a set of two
また
open
右に行
doors,
ってあげれ
he
ば今
entered
度、あっ
this was
ちは
not
左
the
の
door
が
to the meeting room, and
いいんだ
Stanley
よ
knew
ね。
perfectly well.
左のことは
Perhaps
聞
he
かない
wanted to
から。
stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
休憩室なんて、休憩室らしいとこなかったわよね。
Wow. Yes. This room. What a beautiful room. What a gorgeous,
ジュースも
gorgeous
買えない
room.
し。
Thank goodness Stanley had taken this detour on his way to the meeting room.
笑顔を経験しない人生なので、今考えても恐ろしいものです。どれだけ素晴らしい部屋なんだろうな、この部屋。ジュースも買えないし。
But eager to get back to business, Stanley took
仕事には戻りたくない
on his
よ。
left.
これが一つ目のドア。これでしょ？これさっきスルーしたから行ってみようかな。
And so he detoured through the maintenance section, walked straight ahead to the opposite
まっ
door,
すぐ
and
向
got
こう
back
側
on
の
track.
メンテナンスセクションが逆に気になるじゃない。ロードが走った。
But Stanley didn't want to go back to the office. He wanted to wander about and get even further off track. So now in order to get back, he
ナレ
had
ータ
to
ーに落ち着きがない。
From here, it's
いきなり歌うな。
Oh no, no, it's to the right. My mistake.
いや、右って言ってるけど何？途中から見て右なの。
No, 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 not the right. Why would I have ever said
ちょっ
it
と
was
しっ
to
かり
the
してくれる？
right? What was I thinking? It's clearly. Oh dear, would you hold on for a minute, please?
カンニングしてんじゃねえんだよ。髪をめくろうとって。
You went down right, left, down, left, right. Yep, okay, yes. I've got it now. This story is absolutely, definitely this
今
way.
噛んでたぞ。だからナレーターの言うこと信用できないんだよ。これまた落ちない。あ、じゃあまたんじゃん。
No, this isn't right at all. You're not supposed to be here.
ネタバレだって言うな。
Quick, Stanley, close your eyes. Okay. We just have to get back to oh, who am I kidding? It's all
なんかで
rubbish
も本当
now.
に
The whole
ポー
story
タルの
is
変
completely
で使ってるから
unusable.
こういうの
How about
読みや
rather
すい
than
け
waste
ど
my time trying to salvage this
うま
nonsense,
く
we'll
書かれ
just
てる。
restart the game from the beginning. And this time, suppose we don't want
ゲームを最初からやり直そうってもう手遅れだぞ、お前。本当に最初くん、お前さ。
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean?
なんか、今更すっ届けてんじゃねえよ。なかったことにして最初からのふりするんじゃねえよ。今のもならないしな。次は左に行ってあげるか。赤ん坊ゲーム出ないですね。
When Stanley... Wait, what?
なんだってこ
I restarted. I swear,
いや
I definitely restarted the game over completely fresh.
あのさ、
Everything should be...
左と右のドアしかなかったはずなのに、6枚になってんだが。
When we were back in that room with all the monitors, did you move the story somewhere?
平和だけど、ドアが6枚になったんだけ
The
ど、
one who wrote the story was right here just a
左
minute
と
ago.
右だけ
I
だ
know
っ
for
たの
sure
が
that、it's here somewhere. Okay then, it's an adventure. Come,
い
Stanley.
や、
Let's find
いや、
the
さ、
story.
ここ行けるの？行けないじゃねえか。でもね、6は言い過ぎだよ。このドアは機能してないよ。だから私は、このドアにするんで。ここ繋がってるんじゃないの？ぐるっと回って。何かないかな？何もない。ちょっと待って。同じような
I'll。say it. This is the worst adventure I've ever been on. I can promise you
いや、
there
あなたが
definitely
巻き戻し
was
た
a
んじゃん。
story here before. Do we need to restart the game again? Well, I find it unlikely that we'll ever progress by starting over and
Start
over again.
again.
But it's got to be better than this. Okay, let's give it a shot. Why not?
じゃあまた巻き戻、煩悩も呼んで巻き戻してくるな、こいつ。
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room.
で、
Perhaps
入っ
he
て
had
みる意
simply
味が
missed
な
a
くなった
memo.
から。
Okay, yep, it's worse. I might be remembering this wrong.
あれ
It's
ちょっ
possible
と、
the story
今
is
度は行き止ま
back
り
where we just came from. Why don't we go back the other direction and see if we missed anything?
さっきの方で、6個上行ってたと思ったら、今度はいる。何個だっけな。なんか次ジャンプしようとしてスペースキーをしちゃう。そんな
Aha!
ものはない。
I knew we'd missed something. The story.
物語だ、来るぞ。物語だ、来るぞって言わないよな。
No, wait, never mind. Not the story. Okay, let's head back the other way and
間
retrace our
違え
steps.
ただろ。なんで今のとどり行き止まりちゃうんかよ。
Now this... Well, I'll be honest, I don't recognize this place at all. Is this the story? I don't think so. I can't quite recall, but I believe
う
my
ん、そう
story took
ね。
place
ち
in
ょっ
an
と期待
office
した。
building.
ちょっと期待したんだけどね。
Do you remember, Stanley? Well, do you know what? Since I've
なん
completely
かもらえそう
forgotten
なん
what
だ
we
け
were
ど、もらえ
supposed
な
to
い
be
か。
doing, how about this? You win!
いや、
Congratulations!
待って、待って。唐突すぎるんだけ
It
ど。
really paid off. So, good job.
いや、これまた巻き戻るんじゃないの
I don't feel right about this at all. We both
しかも手抜き長いし早いでしょ。
Some people win fair and square, and this was not one of those situations. Okay, I'm getting weirded out by what this place is. I don't care what might happen this time. I
ま
have
た
to
リスタ
restart.
ートじゃないの。このナレーター好きあらばリスタートするな。あ、出た。私これ途
Alright,
中まで見
I've
た
got
か
a
な。
solution. This time,
解
to make sure
決
we
楽
get
と
off,
か言い出
I've
しても
employed the help
さ、
of
身
the
も蓋も
Stanley
ないな、
Parable
お前。
adventure line. Just follow the line. How simple is that?
うん、ゲームの意味ないだろ。で、どうせ多分これ通り進んでも、 クリアにはなんないんだろ？どうせやって変なことが起きるんだろ？
Onward, Stanley, to destiny.
ザ・ライン、TM ってちゃんと商標つけるのやめてくれ。なんで商標になってんだよ。
Even if there's no story there. Or to put it another way, is the story of no
い
destination
やでも、口
still a
じゃ
story?
ない物語ってさ、
Simply
あ
by
か
an act of
ら
moving
さま
forward,
でも
only
口引
implying
かれ
a
ても
journey
ね。
such that a destination is inevitably conjured into being via the very
でね、
manifestation
時代の
of
性
actual
質
life
の表れ
itself.
なのでしょうか
Stanley,
とか、
I need to
そんな
follow this
大
train
層な
of
ことを
thought for a minute.
語っ
Just
てる
stick
け
with
ど
me.
さ、
Now we can both agree that the nature of existence is in fact a byproduct of one's subjective experience
いやいやいやいや、
of existence,
これ、
right?
忍者ハットリくんじゃないんだ
Experience
から
of your
さ。
existence rests inside of your subjective experience of this office. Is this office in fact the skeleton of my own
ここ意味ないでしょ。
mental
壊しちゃえばいいじゃん。
construct? Whoa, 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 whoa.
なんでわざわざ壁に引い
Bit
たん
weird
だよ。
back there. Well, I'd like to apologize.
やばいぞ、こ
Not sure
れ。
where I was going with all that.
壁走
I
り。
think what we need right now is a bit of music to lighten the mood.
何これ。タッタラタッタラタラ。なんだなんだお前今思いつきで音楽流しただろ。大きな音楽。これ、こう回ってるのね。こう回って、こう行って。いや、このジグザグ意味あるか。このやけくそ気味に書いたペン。でもこれでも音楽はいいぞ。ジグザグ対応してる。エイリアンかな。これエイリアンが好んで動きそうな軌道ですよね。だからこれさ、どうやって塗ったんだろうな。ハケを木の棒か何かにくくりつけて塗ったのかな。
Wait, cut the music. Go back and look at that.
いや、音楽を止めてかけたのお前だからな。
Wait, what? We're back at the office?
Yeah.
No. Line, you do know we're looking for the Stanley Parable, right? The story? Is any of this ringing a bell?
いや、私に聞き覚えはないかって言われても困るんだけどさ、慣れた、お前そういうとこやぞ。いや、その後さ、だんまり決め込んでんだけど、こいつ。お前さ、音楽かけて、オフィスに戻ってきて、またこれだよ。
Oh, no, not again. Line, how could you have done this?
またこれだって慣れただけよ。
After everything we've been through,
お前のことを信じてるなんて、私は信じてなかったよ。どうせろくなことが起きないと。何してくる気？スタンレーパラブルアドベンチャーラインね。これだ。スタンレーパラブルアドベンチャーラインってさ。もうちょっと、おい。
I say forget the adventure line. What's it ever
お前さ、お前が引いたんや
We'll
ぞ。
make up our own story. Something exciting, daring, mysterious. Ooh,
いや、ミステリアスではないよ。
why don't we simply start wandering in, well, I don't know. How about this direction?
合ってますかってさ。あなたね。
Yes, this is exciting. Just me and Stanley for
そんなワクワクしないの。どうせろくなことがないんだろう。
story to be. Go wild. Use your imagination. Whatever it might be,
なん
Stanley.
かそれはありそうな話ですけどね、現実世界では。まあ実際ありますけど。
Oh, no, not you again. Stanley, I'd also like to veto the line from having any role in our awesome new story. No lines or monitor rooms. Just don't acknowledge it, and we should be fine.
もしって別にこれ、通る分にはいいのかな。 この通りに、でもこういう、結局は、この黄色のライン通りに進んじゃってるけど。いや、ちょっと待って、それは無理。ちょっとね、これは予想外だった。うん、壁に塗ってるのこのバカはと思ってたけど、これはね、予想外だった。やりよるな。なんか、個別好きあらばなんか、やっと物語だとか言ってるけどさ。
In fact, I believe I need a minute to think here. Just walk in circles for a minute. Okay.
でもさ、ぐるぐる回って歩けてさ、回って歩く方向書かれてんだけどさ。
There must be a reverse door.
お前さ、切り逆行しよう。
Our destination corresponds with the counter-inverted reverse
走ってるよな、これ。
So starting from the right, let us ask, will taking the right
次
door
の時は
lead us to where
扉
we're
っ
going?
て閉じちゃったから、どこから入ってどれが右のドアかってわかんなくなってるけど。
Another victory for logic. Come, Stanley. Our destiny awaits.
デスティニー。
Oh, hold up. What's this? The
こ
confusion
んなえ
ending.
んの
You're telling me that's what this is? It's all one giant ending? And we're supposed
ひょ
to
っとし
restart
て
the game
これ8回目かな
times?
何ループしたのかわかんない。
That's really
そうい
how
うことなの
all
か
this
な
goes? It's all determined? So now, according to the schedule, I restart again. Then what? Am I just supposed to forget? Well, what if I don't want to forget?
なんか、記憶喪失的な展開でよくある。
thing.
身の回りのものに
Well, who consulted me?
出来事を
Why
書い
don't
て
I
おく
get to
的な。
decide? Why don't I get a say in all of this? Is it really? No, it can't be. I don't want it to be. I don't want the game to keep restarting. I don't want to forget
い
what's
や、
going
君
on.
いつもリスタートしてるから、やるんだったら早くして。
Do it. I won't do it. I won't do it.
ういってうるさい。
Stopped?
と思ったよ。
Does that mean did we do it? Did we break
い
the
や、そ
cycle?
れはないかな。
Whatever it is
だ
that
よ、
made
これ
this
は。
schedule, how would we even know? Will someone come for us?
もう誰も来ないんじゃないかな。でもね、ことごとく、ナレーターさんの言うことに信頼度がな
I
い。
guess now we just wait.
ちょっと目につきたいのはこっ
I
ちだ
suppose
から
in
な、お
some
前
way。that this is a kind of story, wouldn't you agree? I'm not quite sure if we're in the destination or the journey, though they're always saying that life is about the journey and not the destination. So I hope that's where we are right now. We'll find out, won't we? Eventually. Well,
こ
in
の
the
旅で何
meantime,
を見つ、おー、びっくりした。えいや、結局今のリセットの原因、意味不明なんだけど。
all of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean?
なんか
Stanley
初見
decided
み
to
たいな
go
こ
to
と
the
言い
meeting
やが
room.
って
Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
これ間違えて閉めちゃった。え大丈夫か。どこに行けばいいんだ。いや、どこに行っても変わんないよ。
When Stanley came to a set of two open
また右
doors,
と左に
he
戻って
entered
る
the
ね。
door on his left.
どっちもどっちなんだよな。ないの。
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
あ、もう飽きた。
Stanley
ああ。閉じ込められたかな。あ、これね。このパソコンは
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to
いや、
discover not an
それ
indication
い
of
ないか
any
ら。
human life. What could it mean? Stanley wondered aloud to nobody. He began wildly tearing through papers on the boss's desk, pulling books off the shelf, looking behind paintings, desperate for clues to his situation. But his attention was caught by a keypad behind the boss's desk. What could its purpose be? In fact, this keypad guarded the terrible secret that lay buried below his
Terrible
feet.
secret.
And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number, 2845. But of course, Stanley couldn't possibly have known this.
これはさっきあったかな。あれ今端末があった。
Stanley just sat around twiddling his thumbs. Trying to input anything on the device was useless, since he could never, yet incredibly, by simply pushing random buttons on the keypad, Stanley
ラン
happened
ダ
to
ムで打つっ
input the
て
correct
強
code
調する
by
な。
sheer luck. Amazing.
ちゃんとヒン
He
トが出て
stepped
た
into
から、
the newly
その通り
opened
の押したのに。
passageway.
これ、さっき下に行ったから、あれ、こっちでも何もないのか。何あれ降りてなかった。ここでロードが入ったけど、びっくりした。この線で完全残しないやん。
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility. The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out?
何もできないぞ。あ、この細い道かな。あ、これは知られないのかな。あれスイッチ知らないぞ。
Now the monitors jumped to life. Their
ま
true
た
nature
彼だよ。
revealed. Each bore the number of an
あ、
employee
上
in the
の方に
building.
ファイヤー
Stanley's
ドっ
co-workers.
て書かれ
The
てますね。
lives of
首だ
so
っ
many
て、
individuals
バックス
reduced
じゃ
to
2
images
の
on
カロリー
screen.
なのかな、あ
And
れ。
Stanley, one of
そう
them,
かな。
eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing.
え に眠いんですけど、こんだけモニターがあったら。別に部屋の監視なんかしなくても、あるだけで眠いんですけど。どうなってんの？この隙間から落ちれたりしない？ないよな。どうもできないの
？This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly?
一応ボスがいるのかな？どうしようってんだよ。
No, he refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control.
お前の指示が悪い
It
から
was
だぞ。
unthinkable, wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world?
いや、見えてるし、今も。
But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions. Happy, or sad, or content. Walking, eating, working. All of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he would dismantle the controls once and for all.
この間抜けスイッチか。頭の意味がないですし、これなんだかわかんない。ここは、でも穴持ち見て、びっくりして結局、そこまでしかレベル上げなかったような気がするから、何かヒントないのかな。
山木アイローさん、そのまんまマインドをコントロールするとこなんね。
もうそのまんまですね、わざわざ看板まで立てて、これ前も来たじゃないっていうか、一応歩くときの地面の種類によって足音がちゃんと変わってる。いや、でもね、そういうとこじゃない、大事なの。しかも、ちょっとメニューのタブ今開けないのか。いい加減に通らせてくれないかな。さっき。ちょっと待って。しょうが逃げてた。今。てか。 最後の時。ちょっと。
And when at last he found the
またさっ
source
き
of the wind's
のや
power,
つか。
he knew it was his duty,
本
his
当に
obligation
コロコロ変わ
to
るか
put
ら。
an end to this horrible place and to everything it stood for.
Horrible place. いや、オンにしてもリセットになるの？オフにしてもリセットになったでしょ？
Blackness
何起こって
and
る
a
のかわ
rising
かんない。
chill of uncertainty. Was it over? Yes! He had won! He had defeated the machine! Unshackled himself from someone else's command. Freedom was mere moments away. And yet, even as the immense door slowly opened, Stanley reflected on how many puzzles still lay unsolved. Where had his co-workers gone? How had he been freed from the machine's grasp? What other mysteries did this strange building hold? But as sunlight streamed into the chamber, he realized none of this mattered to him, for it was not knowledge or even power that he had been seeking, but happiness. Perhaps his goal had not been to understand, but to let go. No longer would anyone tell him where to go, what to do, or how to feel. Whatever life he lives, it will be his. And that was all he needed to know. It was perhaps the only thing worth knowing. Stanley stepped through the open door. Stanley felt the cool breeze upon his skin, the feeling of liberation, the immense possibility of the new path before him. This was exactly the way, right now, that things were meant to happen. And Stanley was happy. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
会議室行ってもしょうがないから。
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
これ見よがちに置いてるけど、ゴミ袋なのかな？
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
いや、そんなこと言われてもさ。
柳愛郎さん、初回に戻った？
初回でも初回なのかな？毎回何かしらの